I pushed the basement door open, and first thing I saw, blood coming out from the door. I woke up to the sound of rain hitting the hospital window. At first, I couldn't remember where I was. Everything felt blurry. My body felt weak. The ceiling light above me buzzed softly, while machines beamed somewhere beside my bed. A nurse noticed I was awake and quickly called the doctor. That's when they told me I had survived the accident. They said I was lucky to be alive, but something about the way they spoke to me felt rehearsed. Like they had said those same words too many times. The doctor barely looked at me in the eyes. He checked my pulse, adjusted my IV bag, then quickly left the room. Before the nurses followed him out, she stared at me. Not normal staring. She looked at me like she was studying me, like she already knew something I didn't. The room smelled like bleach and old medicine. Every few minutes, the fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Outside the window, heavy rain poured endlessly into the dark parking lot below. I tried checking my phone, but it was gone. No wallet, no clothing, nothing. Just a hospital bracelet with my name on it. That first night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept hearing noises in the hallway. Slow footsteps, wheelchairs rolling, whispers. At exactly 3:13 a.m., the light flickered violently. The entire hallway outside suddenly went silent. Then came the whispering low voices, dozens of them, like people praying together, somewhere far away. I walked towards the door, looking outside, but the moment I touched the handle, an announcement echoed through the hospital intercom.
Patients must remain inside their rooms.
The voice sounded distorted, almost inhuman. I stepped away from the door immediately. The next morning, I felt weaker. My arms felt numb. Even sitting up in bed made me dizzy. The nurse entered my room carrying medical equipment. She said they needed another blood sample. I told her they already took blood yesterday. She smiled. But something about her smile looked wrong. Too wide, too forced.
You lost a lot of blood during the accident,
She said softly. Then she inserted the needle into my arm. I watched the dark red blood slowly fill bag after bag. After bag, way more than a normal blood test. When she finally left, I noticed small drops of blood trailing behind her shoes. That afternoon, I met the patient staying across my room, an older man, very thin, very pale. He looked terrified all the time. When nurses walked past us in the hallway, he leaned closer to me and whispered,
"You need to leave."
I asked nervously and asked him why, but before he could answer, one of the nurses appeared instantly at the end of the hallway, watching us. The old man immediately stopped talking. That night, the old man disappeared completely. The room across from mine was empty by morning. No bedsheet, no belongings, nothing. Like nobody had ever stayed there. When I asked a nurse about him, she looked confused. "What old man?" she said. I knew then that something was deeply wrong with that hospital. Later that evening, I started exploring the hallway while nurses were distracted. The hospital felt strange at night. Too quiet, too empty. Some lights flickered constantly while others stayed completely dark. The security cameras followed me everywhere. Every hallway, every corner, every elevator. It felt less like a hospital and more like a prison. That's when I noticed room 209. The door was slightly open. Inside sat a pale woman staring directly at me from a hospital bed. She wasn't moving, wasn't blinking, just staring. I slowly stepped closer. "Are you okay?" I asked quietly. Her lips slowly curved into a smile. Then she whispered,
They train us at night.
Before I could respond, a nurse suddenly grabbed my shoulder from behind.
You shouldn't be here.
Her voice sounded cold now. No smile, no emotion. She escorted me back to my room without another one. That night, I stayed awake on purpose. At exactly 3:13 a.m., then the whispered returned. For this time, I looked outside, and I wish I hadn't. I saw several nurses stood motionless at the far end of the hall, facing the wall, whispering together. Then slowly, they all turned their head to look at me at the exact same time. I slammed the door shut immediately, never to open it again. Then, a few minutes later, something scratched my door. I couldn't sleep. The next morning, my condition had worsened. My nose started bleeding randomly. I could barely stand without shaking. When the doctor checked my chart, I noticed something strange. My blood levels were dangerously low. Low enough that I should have needed a transfusion. But nobody seemed concerned. That's when I realized they weren't trying to help me recover. They were slowly draining me. For a ritual I knew nothing about. Later that night, while searching the lower floors, I found a security office. Inside were dozens of old security monitors. Most showed empty hallways, but one screen showed something horrifying. Patients being wheeled into a basement level that didn't officially exist. But none of them ever came back upstairs. Then, the footage suddenly cut to static. Behind me, a wheelchair moved across the hallway by itself. I ran. That's when I found the old elevator. The doors were slightly open, deep red lights glowing from underneath, and strange symbols were painted across the walls. Around it, something inside me knew I shouldn't go down there, but I needed answers. The elevator slowly carried me on the ground. When the doors opened, I nearly threw up. That was when I saw it. Blood. The basement wasn't a hospital floor. It was a ritual chamber where patients were strapped to medical beds, while blood drained through tubes into massive container like a blood bank. Doctors and nurses stood around them wearing dark robes. Symbols painted in blood covered the walls, candle hung beside surgical equipment. And in the center of the room, people One of the doctors lifted his mask slightly. His face looked sickly pale, almost corpse-like. That's when I noticed something even worse. Some of the patients strapped on the bed were still alive, weakly moving, trying to scream, but no sound came out. Then, one of the nurses looked directly at me. Everything stopped. The chanting, the movement, the machines. Every single person in that room slowly turned towards me. I ran immediately. Footsteps thundered behind me, while red emergency light flashed across the hallway. The whispers grew louder, closer. The elevator doors started closing just as several nurses sprinted towards me, unnaturally fast. I barely escaped upstairs. I ran through the hospital lobby and out into the rain. I didn't stop running until sunrise. Days later, police investigated the hospital after I reported everything. But according to them, the basement level didn't exist. There were no hidden rooms, no symbols, no ritual chambers, nothing. The hospital looked completely normal. But before leaving the police station, one officer handed me my hospital discharge papers. I looked down at the final page and felt my blood turn cold. Stamped across the bottom in red ink were the exact words: "Final preparation complete." Then underneath it was my next appointment date. I thought I was safe, but I think these people are after me.